Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Rocket Mortgage. This is my money pick show. Going to talk about the plays that I'm looking at for DFS and also give you some of my favorite bets at the end. And of course, as you're always used to, I'm going to go into some deep analysis on why I'm making these picks. And with that said, thank you again for stopping by. Thank you for your support. And the good news, I am still brought to you commercial free. Okay, first off, first important things is giving away some money. And so, yes, I do have a giveaway. It is for the Open, and it is for the $100 entry, right? So to give you actually somewhat of a fighting chance to make a few bucks, other than the mass entry. I think that probably will come in at $10 per entry. I haven't looked at it. And all you need to do is like this video, subscribe if you've not been a subscriber yet. And thank you for all you subscribers that are out there and have already given me your picks. And that's all I need is give me your pick to win the Open in the YouTube comments below. And I will randomly pick 5 winners and I will announce them on my preview show for the Open on July 12th. So pretty simple. Like this, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Tell me who you think is going to win the Open in the YouTube comments below. And I'm going to pick 5 random winners and give you guys some money. Okay. With that said, if you missed the preview show, and I apologize for some odd reasons, I was having a hard time finding it on YouTube, even though I was advertising it. So if you've not seen it, you might have just had to type in Golf Guru and it should pull it up. But long story short, I always go over what I think we need to look for in the players that we're going to pick from a DFS and even from a betting perspective. I rank the stroke gain kind of areas that we're going to look at. And from an overall just kind of narrative, what I'm going to be doing, just so you guys know, and either you can jump on board or you can say, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm looking for guys that can score, that can go low, and have shown that they can go low in the past. So really, I'm almost trying to build like a showdown team. So a lot of the guys that I'm picking are the guys that I usually put in showdown plays. And ultimately, that's guys that can get hot with the putter, really good on approach, get a lot of birdie or better opportunities, can convert on those birdies and eagles. Some driving distance typically helps. Some work out of the sand at this course is going to help. Firing from 75 to 100 close to the pin, or 125 to 150, I think is important. And lastly, what they're going to need to do is birdie 3 of the par 5s that are very gettable. So with that said, we can kind of move on. So I always kind of go over, comp courses that I'm going to be leveraging when I'm, not only am I looking at the research analysis, I also want to put them up against how they've done at other courses. This is going to be a little different. I'm not so much concerned about is there exact fit from course to course or even how it plays. I'm just going against courses that tend to allow low scoring. Again, that's the guys we need. We need guys that can go super low. And the model you see, information you pulled there, funny enough, that does pull some of these courses in. And over the past 12 rounds, these guys played it. And I just clicked on birdies, which ranks these guys, who's had the most birdies at these kind of tournaments. And funny enough, you get Harry Higgs, Molinari, Homa, some of the guys that honestly I really wasn't thinking of, but just to give you some more names, someone to think about if you're looking on the narrative that I am. But anyways, I'm looking at the Wyndham, the Old Desert Classic, which is now the American Express. You got the Tournament of Champions, which kind of out of my brain because it's such an elite field that plays there. Was thinking that course might be a little tougher, but it's not. And then also you could look at a little bit, maybe it's the field that plays, the 40 pretty much best players that, kind of kicks off the actual fiscal year. But yeah, they go low there. They go low at Mayakoba, which was also known as the OHL before. You got Shriners, of course, Byron Nelson. We just saw at TPC Craig Ranch where I believe Cage Lee shot 25 under there or something ridiculous like that. The John Deere will give up some scoring, and then Waste Management, not a 20 under, but it's high teens typically. So these are, of course, and along with the Rocket Mortgage, which is also ranked as one of the easiest tournaments that they play. And so with that said, I will be using that when we go through the analysis. Okay, so let's go jump over to Fantasy National and dive into some of these guys that I'm looking at. Okay, so jumping over into Fantasy National. As I always mention, I am not affiliated at any way, shape, or form, but I do recommend if you are starting to get to the point that you want to do some research on your own, it's a great tool on many different fronts. It's funny enough, I've been using this for about 5 years, and I still find different things that I didn't even know existed. So, anyways, enough of that. just so you understand what we are looking at. So I'm looking at what I call this called the sneak peek, which allows you to kind of build just like a dashboard of the key things you want to see. The first thing is a smaller kind of stroke gain model. You could pick like your top 5, things that are most important to you. And then you could build another graph, which quickly I pulled in. Just I want to look at birdies gained over the last 24 rounds, and you can kind of see if you take your scroll over, it will show you are they on the upswing, downswing? What are they doing? And then, of course, over here, recent results and tournament history. Now, typically, when I do this kind of analysis, tournament history does weigh for me. I do believe in that there is courses for horses, or horses for courses, I guess I should say. But I'm really not concerned at all about their past history here. The guy that comes to the top of my mind that I know would be Straka, who probably has, I think, the best tournament history here. Let me see where Seb is at here. Why I'm just talking about him. So funny enough, you can see he's not been shooting that well. I mean, he had a good showing at the Travelers, but he's had a T8 and a T11. And over, the short history at this tournament, from what I saw, he's probably got the best tournament history. So definitely someone that you might want to think about. Of course, I'll probably look at him from a value play. But so let's get back on a test. I'm picking 15 of my favorite plays. They're going to range at cost. Also over here, you're going to notice that you've got all these different filters you can turn on. I'm not turning on any filters for this. Again, under the narrative that I'm looking for guys that pretty much can putt, approach, and make birdies. And whoever does that the best that I think from an analysis and my own knowledge is who I'm going with. So right off the bat, Bryson DeChambeau. Now, I was a little back and forth on Bryson because the putter hasn't been where it needs to be. But again, I think these are pretty simplistic greens. They are POA. He does very well on POA. You can see he's, green or light green and everything I want. So, top 40 or 50, ranks number 1, of course, in driving distance, we all know. Probably this area is my most concerning. When he gets, I kind of mentioned this, I think, on my Travelers recap, when he gets somewhere between 75 to 125, he just can't take advantage. And I'm hoping that he keeps working on it and it does get better because, here he's going to be in this range quite a bit or less. Okay, so jumping into Bryson DeChambeau, as I've stated, he does gain over his life on POA. Not substantially, but 0.2 if you want to look at it from a stroke, but it is positive. Round the green game is where he typically falters. And if we put him against, we already know he won the Rocket Mortgage previously. His one-time playing here. And we look at the Wyndham. He's actually never played. We look at the Amex. Played her once, missed a couple. That was a while ago. Look at Tournament Champions. Good showing there. 2 top 10s. We look at OHL. Actually played there, but it was back in 2017. We look at Shriners. Good showing there. Most recent was 2020. Won there in 2018, so you have to go low there. So that works out well. The Byron Nelson. He played back. The recent one, he had 55th, so not so well at TPC Craig Ranch. Then John Deere, he won back in 2017, so that's good. And the Waste Management back in 2020, he had a 52nd and a 5th in 2018. So again, nothing I really need to question, but I just want to show you guys from comparable tournaments that, of course, and you can see from his birdies that, it's dipped a little. The putter, of course, at the Travelers was a little suspicious. Recent form is pretty solid. I mean, I'm not saying amazing, but all in all, I know he is the number 1 favorite, and typically you guys will hear me say I don't like to play the most expensive guy, the most favorite, but if I got to put him against, when my options are Reed, Simpson, Hideki, and Will Z, I got to go with DeChambeau. And you can see all the reasons why. You see Patrick Reed from a birdie perspective getting a little better, but he hasn't been playing as good as he was, I'd say, last fall. Webb Simpson, you already know if you watch the show, I'm out on Webb, have been. I was a huge Webb guy, but he's just not doing anything great. But, you never know. Could flick a switch. You can see, from what I'm looking at from a model ranking, that's this number here where they rank. Of course, he's number 3 on the things that I need or want. You can see from a birdie perspective, one time Webb Simpson used to be a great play from a birdie perspective, but just hasn't been there. And a lot of it's been on the putter. Of course, he doesn't have driving distance, but he used to at least have accuracy and could hit the long irons and hybrids in, but he hasn't been doing that. So out on Webb, Hideki, I thought about a bit and could be not a bad play. You can see the guy will make birdies, but he'll also make some crazy bogeys. You can see his putter is always a disaster, typically, except at the Masters. Funny enough, but typically that's what gets him in trouble. So I want really good putters. On most of these guys, I'm looking for good putters, as you saw. So even though he comes up 10th in my model, I'm not picking him. Wilsey, I actually bet him outright to win this thing. I think, this could be easily a tournament he wins compared to the talent that's out here. But just seems like you can see his game has been falling back a little bit. So, that could be just starting to get a little tired from all the play, all the travel. Who knows? I'm not trying to make speculations, but never been that great of a putter since, what bit of information we have on the tournaments he's played. Amazing off the tee and approach. But you can see the proximity is a little lower than I'd like it for this range that I'm looking at. But again, I bet him outright to win, is a possibility. I think the odds are, I forgot now, but I think it's like something like 40 to 1 or something like that. But again, for that, if I'm going to pay 10 grand, I'd much rather play Niemann. You can see Niemann's birdies have been on the way up. For Joaquin Niemann, he's not been in the best of form. I'll say that. But the guy does everything I want, and he can get a hot putter. So we can jump on Joaquin, go take a look at him. So if you look at his splits, he actually over his life has lost on POA, but not super consistent. Funny enough, it is a mix with bent, so you can make the argument. Well, but I think POA will be the dominant surface here, and the greens will act like POA greens. If we go in and look at the Rocket, he played here once. That was the first time he had a 5th place finish. We look at the Wyndham. He's had his best finish was a 13th, but recently was a 42nd. We go to the Amex. Only played it once, had a miscut in 2019. What about TOC? So last year he had a 2nd place and a 5th place before. And also remember, again, those 40 guys that play in that event. But I mean, still 2nd, and it's the best 40 guys pretty much out there, or at least won a tournament the previous year. I guess I should state that. It's not. At the OHL Mayakoba, he had a 23rd recently. What do you do at Shriners? He had a 13th recently and a 10th and a miscut. So he's had, that's every time I probably have all the tournaments. That's one of the tournaments I think about that, man, you got to go low. I think the last cut was 6 or 7 under. To make the cut. So, I can't really think of a better tournament to put this against. The Byron Nelson, that's a Greenbrier. Spelling it wrong. Played the Byron Nelson once, had a miscut. And we look at the John Deere. He had a 10th in 2019 and a 23rd. And lastly, Waste Management played in 2019 and a miscut. So, again, it's all going to come down if he has a good putter. I'm not worried about him getting there. Really, none of these guys I'm too worried about actually getting the green. It's just getting it in the hole. You can see Jason Kokrak. I actually, before I even did analysis, like the first guy I thought of that would do well here in the field was Jason Kokrak. Of course, I bet him too. Again, off the top of my head, I can't remember what his odds are. It's not great. I think it's like 20 to 1 or 25 to 1. But typically when you think everybody's going to be on Kokrak, I can already guarantee you. You can already see his projected ownerships at 20%. I don't think he's going to be a chalk bomb. He's not going to miss the cut, but whenever everybody and everyone and everything points, but I said the same thing about when John Rahm for the U.S. Open. When everything's telling you to pick this guy and he's going to win it, usually that's when things go sideways. But hey, John Rahm was a great kind of example that it can go all well. But you can see from a birdie perspective, the guy is just in fuego. I think he might be the highest from birdies obtained. Of course, this is going by events and also the months going back for 24 rounds. Just had a super hot putter. The guy's got the length. He meets everything I want. If we go click on Jason, go look at his putting splits so you can see, and this is going over life of his career. And one time he was not a good putter, and then he added an inch to his putter, and away he went. So I'm not concerned about that. You can see if anywhere he typically struggles is around the green. Now, he did miss a cut, at the U.S. Open. Was kind of losing everywhere but the putter. But I'm not super concerned with that. A total different ball game. So yeah, and actually, I would base more the Charles Schwab is a similar kind of course and scoring by far than what the U.S. Open requires. If we pull up the Rocket, he played here back in 2019, had a 29th. We look at the Wyndham, played here quite a bit. His best finish was a 6 in 2019, but also had a 15th. We look at OHL. He had a 45th in 2017. So he's done well there. I mean, that's a little older data, but it's done pretty well there. Shriners recently had a miscut. So that's kind of interesting. I just would think he'd do well there. His best finish was a 20th. We look at the Byron Nelson in 2017 had a 4th and a miscut way back in 2012. I look at the John Deere miscut, so nothing there. That's a little tighter track. You can definitely get penalized at TPC Deere Run if you are not hitting the fairways. We're here literally you can spray it all over the map and probably still get home and on your approach. It's not a lot to cause you an issue, as I've stated. Best finish at the Waste Management was a 15th, miscut recently, but had a 20th. So again, we're going on, of course, crazy recent form, what he's been showing. Everything kind of points that he should do well here. And, I'm not going to try to go crazy and be like, oh, no, there's no way Kokrak. I'm going to go with Sun JM, which, again, you just never know these guys are going to flick a switch. But Sun JM, I don't know. Since he got a house in Atlanta, that the guy maybe is more worried about, what he's going to be putting in his house than golfing. Because when the guy played every tournament and was just traveling, he never had an issue. But with that said, I'm out on him. Bubba Watson, you can make an argument for. What's he done here? Well, funny enough, he's played here twice and missed a cut bowl. That's kind of shocking, to be honest. But he has, been gaining on his birdies. Of course, he had that great Travelers until the last few holes. Nope, I'm out on Bubba. But you could make a case for him. He's got the length, and if he gets a hot putter, just like anybody else, he could do something. I am on Matthew Wolff. I know that, he had a good opening day at the Travelers and not so much. Of course, he had a pretty good showing at the U.S. Open. I was on him there. Of course, we already know, he came in second here last year. And I'm going on, my whole theory on Wolff is that the guy gets super hot. He's a good putter. I don't care what this tells me. I think he's one of the best. I think he's kind of like DeChambeau. He's kind of like sneaky good at putting. And if his driver does get wayward, he's not going to get penalized. He's just going to be 70 yards away from the green, maybe on the next hole. But yeah, I'm all over it. I'm on it. If we click on Mr. Wolff, you can see Poa over his life has not been his best surface, but bent he does typically gain on. You see around the green, it's been kind of his bugaboo here from a recent. Of course, off the tee. Again, this takes into effect not just distance, but hitting actual fairways. But yeah, I'm not concerned about it. And if we go look at, we already know what he did at the Rocket, but if we look at the Wyndham, he's had a 19th in 2019. If we look at the Amex, he had a 40th recently. What about TOC at 11th back in 2020? OHL, he's never played. I should have just left that John Deere up there, but that's okay. Shriners, he had a second. That's pretty recent, October of 2020, and an 18th below. So again, he can go low if he has to. I don't know why with Byron Nelson, I always want to spell it B-R-Y instead of, but he's never played the Byron Nelson. The John Deere, he had a 37th, and Waste Management recently had a 36th. So again, it's ultimately going to come down, and I'm looking for guys that get streaky. Again, it's a points game, what we're trying to do, and, string along those, 3 birdies in a row or an eagle and 2 birdies. That's definitely something that Matthew Wolff can do. I was actually at one time going to pick Keegan. I think he's a good kind of first round leader, or, you could pick him as he's going to typically have one good round, I would think, at this course. You can see he was in crazy good form. The putter, I mean, I'll go click on him. I already know why, the form. It was because he was gaining on putting. So yeah, here you go. Didn't even need to see this and just knew. But, he's typically can be a very bad putter. And you can see he goes in streaks where, not good with the putter, then good with the putter. So it's all going to come down. I don't think it's a terrible showdown play. I don't think it's a bad bet. But from a DFS strategy, I'm picking 15 guys for you. Keegan didn't make the cut. Jason Day, nope. I mean, I didn't trust him even at the Travelers, even when he was, showed a little bit of life. I just don't trust that back. And you can also see he's just not putting and making the birdies like he used to. So that takes us to the Hoffman at 8,800. And you can see this guy can make a bunch of birdies. He's super streaky. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for super streaky guys. You can see my model rank picked him ninth. That's the larger model. You can see in here he's pretty much positive in everything I want. If we go look at the Hofster, his best putting surface is POA, so that's a positive. Kind of been on and off of the putter, as you see. Can gain when he does well. Like Valero, he's going to gain 3 strokes. Travelers, he did a lot with the putter, so hopefully the putter stays, but he gets back off the tee. Let's go look at. So he's played the Rocket once, missed a cut. That was back in 2019. Does not like the Wyndham. What about the Amex? His best finish, he had a second and a ninth, and then some missed cuts and a 61 recently. So nothing really to write home about there. Tournament of Champions, didn't make it previous year, but when he does, again, out of 40 guys, that's not a bad showing. Top of the class, we'll say. Top 50% of the class. OHL recently had a 46. Shriner's a miscut, but he had, an 18th in his prior, had a 4th before that. And I was typing in Nelson so I don't mess it up. The Byron Nelson, some good showings, a 40 back in 2017. So that's kind of all older data, so nothing really we can glom onto. Again, John Deere, that's 2017. What about Waste Management? A miscut recently and some 20s and whatnot. So, yeah, I just want to scroll through. So Charles Schwab was the last tournament, which was at the Colonial, that he had a 3rd. He had a 2nd at Valero. So, again, did well over in the Texas run. Had a 7th at the Pro-Am, which, not that they were going super, super crazy low, but of course you got the multiple courses. Just like, you can look at Farmers, and the North course at Farmers actually is one of the easier scoring courses, but it was just going to be too hard to kind of figure out which rounds. I would just pull up to see what kind of other good showings Hoffman's had, but I'm not worried. Again, I'm just looking for guys that I know they can get super streaky. Ricky Fowler, I already told you, I tried him for once, and I just can't do it. The guy's just so volatile. I think Gary Woodland wouldn't be a bad play. I don't have any issues with him. Just out of the guys that I wanted, there's no negatives. I mean, at a T50 a cut, but he's also been showing some life. It's really the putter with Gary. I don't, definitely handle the course. Everything else looks good. It's just, I don't think he can get a hot enough putter. Of course, I think Kisner, when it all said and done, he's going to be, I think, a little chalky. Right now, it's only saying about 10%, but I'm not going to fall for that with the 2 good rounds he had at the Travelers. He's just not been playing that good. I mean, you see the putter is still elite, but everything else, you still got to stick the approaches. I mean, you can't be trying to drain 40, 50 footers. Now, is he going to have a hot round? Definitely. He actually had, I believe last year, he might have led or had the lowest round for, I don't know if it was round 2 or whatever. So he could do it here. He could do it anywhere. It's just if he gets a super hot putter, but can he do it for 4 days? I doubt it. Max Homa, again, I definitely like Max. He's, he's just not been at the form he was. I mean, he had that T6 at the Memorial. And when I always think of Max, I think of him, again, handling tough courses, the grinder courses. So I don't think of Max as some guy that can just go super low. So that takes me to Garrick Higo. I've been on this guy since, before the Palmetto. And what this guy does also a little bit Matthew Wolfish, can just outright crush the ball, can get a little wayward, but no worry with that. You can see everything here is solid green, top 30 or better. And he's got a solid putter. And that's everything that I'm looking for. I'm not worried at the Travelers. He missed a cut by a stroke. The U.S. Open, that was the U.S. Open. And, I'm not saying the Palmetto is everything to base this off, but again, the 2 wins on the Canary Islands. And, we're not going to have a lot. I'm not even going to bring up. So right now it's showing, POA is his favorite surface. But we're just not going to have enough tournaments can't run him against. I just know that he's a play that I want to make because I think he the guy shot quite consistently in the 60s, low 60s on the European tour, and has done well here. So I don't have any issues. I'm going to go with Emiliano Grillo. Even though he has not been in the form that typically, I just know he can get hot. The guy can put together 6 birdies in a row. I mean, I've seen it. It's just all going to come down to the putter, just like everybody else. He played here once at a T39. Kind of mismatch of, form. Of course, recent form has not been that great. So hopefully being here and where he was struggling, you can see over his life. I mean, typically I just consider he's negative on every putting surface when it comes to putting. But what I told you guys, what was making me nervous was this off the tee. Typically, he's a really good driver of the ball. You can see he got it back at the Travelers and approach he gained. It was just a putter. So you can see it's like, well, crazy good approach, which that's typically his strong suit. And when he matched that up with a putter, he was doing well. So that's all he needs here. I'm not worried about off the tee again. Hit it out there 300 yards. I don't care if you're in the rough. It's not going to be that penal here. I don't care if you're on the other fairway. And stick it with make a putt. So I am on him. We can go look at some of his comparable tournaments, I'm calling it. So he did play the Rocket. We already did that. He had a 39th. What about the Wyndham? Once, but that was a miscut in 2017. What about the Amex? He had a 37th. What about TOC? He only made that. That was back in 2016 when I think he had his one win. Mayakobe does well. He's at an 8th and a 9th, a 10th, a 15th. So, and you got to go low there. What about Shriners? A 34th recently, but a couple miscuts. The Byron Nelson, never played. About the John Deere, never played. And Waste Management, a 22nd recently. So, yeah, all good. And again, I'm just looking for that guy that's just going to get super hot and score. Cameron Tringali, he's had a little bit of a I don't know, kind of on and off recession, but you can still see his birdie gained is solid. It's still on the upslope. He does everything that I'm looking for. Driving distance, maybe not as long, but I'm not, still not bad. He's still top third out of this field. If we go look at Tringali and some of his information, you see POA is his best surface. You can see his stroke gain has been on a super incline over the last, I don't know, what is that? Over a year. You can see off the tee is where he's been struggling just recently. But, you definitely see where he can, definitely not struggle. So approach and putting, he definitely is where his strong suit is. But here I'm not worried again about the driver so much. The Rocket, he's played twice. He's had a 5th and a 30th. So that's pretty solid. The Wyndham does not like the Wyndham, which is interesting. The Amex best was a 14th way back, but a 56 recently. Never made a Tournament of Champions. OHL 66 would be the most recent, so nothing great there. What about Shriners? He's ended up 2nd there. That was back in 2015, but had a 19th recently. About the Byron Nelson, he's had a 9th back in 2017, but a 23rd. And again, I'm looking at this to see how they done at courses where you've got to go low and contend. John Deere had a 16th. And Waste Management a 17th recently. And it's kind of funny. And a ton of miscuts and then a 12th. So there you go. There's PGA golfers. All right. So I'm on Tringali. Again, funny enough, I was actually looking to pick Phil. I just don't think he'll make enough putts. I think he could do everything else that you'd want. That was my call. But you can see from a birdie perspective, he's up there. So he made my first cut list. And then kind of as I, kind of finalized it, I just kind of decided, you know what? I just don't trust that putter of his right now. But I'm going to pick Siwoo Kim, who's got the best putter ever. Just joking. He's a terrible putter. But what he can do is go super crazy hot. And if you bank him against these courses that we're looking, so if we look at the Amex and stuff like that, he has done some damage, right? Of course, he won the American Express recently. But if we look at the Rocket, played it twice. His best was a 57th. So nothing that would make you scream. But if you look at the Wyndham, again, a course that you have to go low. He's at a 1st, a 5th, a 3rd. So I like everything about that. Of course, we look at the American Express. He's at a 1st, a 40th, and just sort of get rid of the Masters, and a 9th. So the guy does well there. And again, another course you have to go low. TOC, when he got to play there, he had a 10th and a 30th. Again, out of 40 dudes. On average, I guess it depends on how many tournaments they have that year. Did I do OHL? He's had a 3rd, a 26, a miscut. The Nelson, a 55th. And what about John Deere? A couple miscuts, and last would be Waste Management, which was recently at a 50th. So, again, when I play Showdown, I typically will throw a little Siwoo Kim in there, all depending. And again, like I said, some things are telling you not to, but really, this is my big motivator. How many birdies can these guys make? Doc Redman, you can make an argument for. You can see, he's making somewhat of birdies. His recent form is not bad. A 9th at Byron Nelson, a 2nd at Palmetto. His putter, you can see, is kind of, not bad. And I'm not worried about his distance. He's already shown that he can, definitely score here. So no reason you couldn't. But again, I'm going to go with someone that I think is just can get super hot. I'm going to go with Harold Varner instead. And if we look at recent, he had a T30 here last year. Again, not super concerned with that. From a putting perspective, he's going to be negative on everything. But you can see pretty good trend with the stroke gain analysis on the way. You see he's been kind of on and off on approach. Typically his driver is an asset. Got some length, usually very accurate. You can see this is the rarity. So the one time he's popped up there, I think his best finish was 2nd place, a runner-up at RBC. He just got super crazy hot with the putter. So you can see he's been gaining a little bit with the putter, kind of on and off. So we just hope that keeps. And if we go plug in some of those comparable tournaments, he had a 7th at Wyndham before, a 10th. So, definitely go low there. What about the Amex? Can't spell. Miscut recently, but had an 18th back in 2019. Never played a Tournament of Champions because you've never won a tournament. Shriners, a 13th, a 15th. So, again, showing that he can go low. What about the Nelson? Did not play. John Deere, he's had a 6th in 2018, a 53rd. And what about Waste Management? He's had a 13th recently and a 10th. So, again, it's this was going to be a little different for me. I'm just kind of putting my Showdown play guys into play. Glover, of course, the putter, it all comes down to that. But you can see, been strong on gaining birdies. If you go look at Lucas Smell the Glove Glover, of course, he's going to, over the life of career, he is not a good putter. And if we pull up the Rocket, we got a 21st last year here. What about the Wyndham? Miscut, an 18th, be his best finish, but his 72nd before that. So nothing spectacular at the Wyndham. American Express, best finish was a 12th back in 2019. He had a 15th, but a couple miscuts recently. What about OHL? He had a 5th recently. Miscut before that, but I'm more concerned about that 5th recently. What about the Shriners? So there you go. I guess this was back in 2019 before, but he had some really good showings at the Shriners, so it can go low there. The Nelson, nope. It's kind of odd that he hasn't played the Shriners in the last couple of years, though. If you've had that good of a record, why would you stop playing somewhere? John Deere, he's at a 10th in 2019, a 25th. And Waste Management, 58 recently. So nothing fantastic on that side. But, again, he can get super hot, put some birdies together. Brent Snedeker, perfect example. Again, a lot like Keegan Bradley. I would say not as good as a ball striker, of course, but I think he's a better putter than Keegan. You can see the birdies have been, pretty decent. Kind of decent recent form. If we go over his life, POA is his favorite putting surface. Gains over a half stroke over his career. You can see the putter lately hasn't been weird, but there was a hot streak. So all we can do is hope that it gets hot again. And the Rocket, he had a miscut, but a 5th place in 2019. If we look at the Wyndham, of course, he's done well there. Him and Webb Simpson, a win, a 3rd, a 5th, a 42nd recently. The Amex does not really like, well, he did previously, back while he was a better player then, but had an 8th and a 10th a while ago, but a lot of miscuts recently. Tournament of Champions. When he gets there, he does some damage. A third, a 22nd, a 14th, so that's pretty good. The Nelson, he had a 17th recently. That was at TPC Craig Ranch. A couple miscuts and a 6. About John Deere, you don't play there. And Waste Management. Best finish was a 2nd back in 2013. He had an 8th, but with he had a miscut recently. So I say recent form has not been good at TPC Scottsdale. Okay. But again, I think he's a super streaky, can get super hot. McNeely, hey, I was on him last week. You could see he's been turning it up. Not a bad play. Could be so many ways. Substrack I already talked about with his form at this course, done well. But, you can kind of see the things that I'm looking at not looking so good. Substraka, and it's still not a bad showdown play here or there. I might even look at him depending from a showdown perspective. Ches Reavie, has shown some life. Had a decent showing at Palmetto. Kyle Stanley, not a bad play, just a putter. That's it. If he has a hot putter, you can almost put him in the Lucas Glover category. Of course, Kramer Hickok, we just saw, had a hot round. Crazy putter there. And you can see the guy's a good putter. Might not be a bad play. So the next guy actually that I've fallen on is Pat Perez. You can see he's had quite a little uptick. Guy is pretty elite on approach. He gets a lot of birdie opportunities. And, you can see he's about middle of the pack with the putter. But, again, I know the guy can get just super hot, super streaky. Let's go take a look at Mr. Perez. So over his life, he has gained on pull with the putter. You can kind of see where he, struggles off the tee, but we don't have to worry about that here. But pretty decent on approach, putting around the green. Did he play the Rocket? Yeah, he played the Rocket last year at a 45th, so nothing to write home about there. The Wyndham, couple miscuts. What about the Amex? Couple miscuts. Well, hold on. Let's go see what else he's done. He had a 14th, a 26th, but most recently miscuts. When he's gotten to the Tournament of Champions, he's done pretty well. 3rd and a 4th out of the top 40-ish. What about Shriners? Miscut recently, but a 3rd and a 7th before there. Did I do OHL? He actually won back in 2016 at Mayakoba, but 52nd recently at 8th and a 6th. What about the Nelson? Kind of mixed. A 9th, a 12th, but then a 39th and a 77th. And John Deere, 37th to 55th, and a Waste Management, kind of 11th to 22. The one thing I will say about Pat Perez, and this is my own theory, I think the guy likes to party, right? He lives in Vegas. And if he's in a tournament, like, you can see here at the Palmetto, he had a T10th. If he's in it after Thursday, he could do well. I do believe, honestly, if that guy is struggling on Thursday, like, no hopes for him on Friday. So just a little note to self from a showdown perspective. Don't, if he's like 6 over on the first day, don't think about playing him on Friday. Probably went out, got hammered, and just is kind of like mailing it in. That's, again, just what I've seen. And I've never picked, actually, Pat Perez ever, but I've watched a lot of them. Danny Willett. This will be another first. Never picked any Danny Willett, but, of course, Masters champion. You can see he's been making birdies. He hosted, I cannot think what the European tournament. It was some open mass. I don't know what it was, but I know he had a good showing over in Europe. Again, I don't follow the European tour very closely at all. So you got that point. He also had a T4 here last, but again, I'm not so concerned with that. I'm more concerned about this. Can these guys make birdies? And he's been, I think he had that low round on a Sunday. I think it was a couple tournaments ago. Where was that at? Maybe it was at the Memorial. Now I'm curious. So bear with me while I go on a little look-see-loo. Oh, it was Jimmy Walker. They literally remind me of the same dude. Okay, anyways. But Danny Willett, let's see what his comparable stuff is. So it splits, nothing to write home about on all of them. You can see gaining on approach recently around the green, putting. A pretty good showing from a stroke gain side at API. Can't see the Corrales stuff. I had an 8th there, 18th at RBC, 26th at Memorial. I think we already said he had a 4th at the Rocket. When was that? It was the most last year at the Rocket Mortgage. Wyndham. Miscut recently. What about the Amex? 2019 miscut. TOC. Nothing there because you haven't won. OHL. Doesn't play Mayakoba. All those like coastal courses, I don't know how these guys would not be all over that. If I was on tour, every time they would go to Hawaii or Puerto Rico or whatever, the Bahamas tour, I would be all on that. All right, I'm striking out with a lot of these. Okay, so we don't have a lot of the comparables. Let's just go scroll down. Good showing that Corrales. That's a low shooting scores. Bermuda. Got the Rocket. API. Canadian Open. I'm just kind of seeing if I scroll down. Anything sticks out. There's his win at the Masters. Probably got some good odds on that. Okay, no reason going for that. All right, but again, he's been hot, can make some birdies, so I am on the Willett train. And yes, folks, I am going to try Patty Kazire one more time. Everything is telling me where Patty's been. You know, you can see he's in Fuego with the birdies. Of course, terrible run here over these last 3, but it had amazing showing, of course, at the courses that I'm kind of looking at, the tournaments. I think this is just a good fit. But you know what? Probably said the same thing last time. Poa is not his best surface. You can see he lost on putting at the Travelers, hence why he did not make the cut. Just trying to see what else. You can see off the tee is where he can have some issues. The rest of it's usually pretty solid, I guess the best way to put it. I don't know if he's played the Rocket before. He's played it twice and miscut, so I'm guessing he's not going to be a huge want to play. Also, the 2 recent miscuts, but again, I don't know why. I don't know what got me into this whole Pat Kazire thing, but I guess it's just watching when he gets hot, man. He gets hot. 8th at the Tournament of Champions. That was a while ago. Sorry, I'm just looking through some of these comparables. He won at Mayakoba, had a 32nd recently. Shriners had a 2nd, a 4th, a 24th. So again, some courses that he needs to go low. The Byron Nelson, of course, TPC Craig Ranch. We just saw that. He had a 3rd. What about John Deere? He had a 30th, a 25th. And what'd you do at Waste Management? Nothing too great at TP Scottsdale, but yeah. So, hey, you guys got to make your own decision, but I am going to be rostering him. And I think that's it. Of course, I will go through these guys below to give you my value plays tomorrow, but that's it. And let's go jump back and wrap this up. Okay, so my Fab Five, I am going with. These are my top 5 plays from a DFS perspective. Number 1, of course, Jason Kokrak. It's going to be super chalky, but everything's saying he should have a great tournament here. Of course, Bryson's already had a great tournament here, coming in as defending champion. If he gets a putter, if his putter's going, he's going to, probably win this thing again. Matthew Wolff, again, not worried about the driver. Super streaky, crazy hot. Good putter. Can be great on approach. I think one of the better players on long approaches. So we'll just see how it works out for Matthew, but I'm going with that. Joaquin Niemann, we just need the putter. Everything else has been good, Joaquin, but get a putter going. And Garrick Higo, everything I see, if you think about this, and I really didn't plan it this way, but bomber. We'll call him kind of a slight bomber, and I'll call him a bomber. And they all at times can get super crazy hot with the putter. I'd say best recent form, of course, would be Kokrak with a putter. Garrick Higo's a good putter. Matthew Wolff's a good putter. I'd say, DeChambeau historically is a good putter, but recently he's not been there. And even Joaquin's not a bad putter, just hasn't been there. So if these guys any one of them get the putter going along with everything else they have, it's game over. Now, the next 5, of course, Griot, elite on approach. Was a pretty good driver of the ball, been slacking, but I'm not so concerned. It's all going to come down, same thing, putter. Siwoo Kim, awesome ball striker. On these type of courses, he can go super low, but it's going to come down to a putter. Patty Kazire, usually an elite putter. It's everything else that we got to watch. But when he gets hot, man, watch out, low 60s. And then same with Glover, right? So almost like, geez, except for Gazar, I'm rostering Team No Putt here. And same with Varner. So great ball striker, but it's just a putter. But all these guys can get super streaky, go super low. And then my final five, more probably a steady play, I'd say, is Cameron Tregale. You got Snedeker. He's going to need the putter. Charlie Hoffman, form is kind of slacked a bit, but again, it can pop out of nowhere, and I see no reason why Charlie can't be hot here. And I'd say, pretty solid with the putter. Patty Perez, just hope he's in it come Friday, or he'll probably be at the bar and, at the casinos and we'll call them the ballets in Detroit. So don't expect a lot. If he shoots a few over on Thursday, do not roster him for showdown on Friday. I'm telling you that. And Danny Willett. So these last two guys I've never picked on my show. But again, I think could definitely do some damage here. So that's it. That's my 15. And now, last but not least, my favorite bet. So not mentioned, but Dylan Fratelli. Again, a lot of people don't know, but this guy is sneaky super long. I'm talking like 330, averaging 330, 340. We haven't seen a whole lot of them since that, pop up at the Masters. I know he had one good showing somewhere else off the top of my head, but I've seen this guy multiple times, again, go low 60s. So I'm just hoping it happens in the first round. I'm going to be betting him 90-1. You also got Scott Stallings. We've seen a couple low rounds out of him. I think one was at Quail. I think he had one low round, one blow up round. He's got length. He's a bad putter, but it can get super hot. Also putting him in for a first round leader. I like those two. And outright winner. I'm going to go with the Glover, man. 90-1. I think that's good odds. I told you guys from the outset of the preview show, the biggest thing I tell you from a betting perspective, just load up a lot of your bets at the 150 and higher. Don't put a lot on it, but you put $10 on it and you're $1,500 in the positive. So that's my recommendation. That's what I'm going to be doing now. Of course, I told you, I think I'm going to put a couple outrights on. Some guys are 30 and 40-1, but typically from a betting side, this is my own perspective. If I'm going to put money on such a volatile, unpredictable game, at times I'm going to pick the guys that have the odds. And we've seen it multiple times, or even recently, where, outright winners have been 200-1, 150-1. That's golf. Okay. And that's it for me. So I would greatly appreciate it if you like what I do and how I do it. Click the like button, and if you would subscribe. If you're not a subscriber and you like what I do, you will get notified when these shows come out. I put out at least 3 shows. Sometimes I'll put out one more little something before the lock. And last but not least, if I can help you, hit me up on the YouTube comments or on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. Thanks, guys, and watch out for my show tomorrow, which is my value plays, but really it's everything you need to know before the lock. Ownership projections I go through, all of it, weather, anything that comes out. I kind of check out the guys' pressers. Anything I see, I'll let you guys know tomorrow to make sure you're ready and prepared for the Rocket Mortgage and in the 313, man. That's what we say here in the D-Town area. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Talk to you later.